welcome. This week the weather outside is scorching hot sunshine. No wonder us Brits are always talking about the weather. It's always different and always changing. Anyway, this week I'm indoors sheltering from that scorching hot midday sun, and I'm going to do a sewing project. I buy quite a few quilt covers that I turn into clothes. It's pretty fabric, it's available fabric, and I think quite a reasonable price. The dress I'm wearing today was made from a quilt cover. And another quilt cover that I bought was these pretty blue daisies. When I bought it, I wasn't sure what I was going to make it into. I ended up making a very nice little dress for my granddaughter. So I have a pillowcase left over, and today I plan to make this into a tote bag, a shopping bag, which I'm going to use as the wrapper for a present for my friend's birthday. That way, not only am I getting a pretty wrapping for her birthday present, but also something that will be useful as a present in and of itself. So let's see if we can turn this single pillowcase into a very nice shopping bag. So I'm going to start by turning my fully functioning pillowcase into just material. Now, rather than taking the time to carefully quick pick or seam rip the edges, I'm just going to cut the seams off using my sewing scissors. Noticing that the brown beigey coloured fabric here is the one that was used to make the inner flap of the pillow. So I've actually got more material of the brown than I have of my pretty blue daisies, which means I'll use the beigey coloured fabric to make the handles for this bag. I chose this particular quilt cover set because I particularly liked those little blue daisies, and what was on the reverse didn't really matter, it was just bonus fabric. So now I have two pieces of fabric to work with. This is going to be the outside of my nice new tote bag, and this will be the inside. But there isn't really an inside and an outside. As I plan to make it fully reversible, you could just as easily have this for your outside and that for your inside. To give me maximum fabric to work with, this nice neat top hemmed edge, I'm actually going to unpick. I'm going to iron both these pieces, especially so I can iron out this crease. Now I have my two panels of fabric ironed out. As I've already said, because of the way this particular pillowcase is made, I've got one piece of fabric bigger, longer than the other. So I'm going to put them together nice and neatly. That's them up, and cut off this extra long piece. Scissors there, making them both the same size. And this is not wasted material. I'm going to use this piece to make my handles. So now this spare piece is going to make our handles. So I'll put the rest of it aside for a moment. So I'm going to fold this in half. And cutting down the middle. Two bits for handles. Now, for the handles of our tote bag, I'm going to fold these two strips of material right side to right side. Flatten it down. Now I'm going to run this through the serger, but you can just as easily do it on a standard sewing machine. We just want a line of stitching, giving you a normal seam allowance along this edge. So I've given this an extra long tail because I'm now going to make use of that tail to turn my handle strap inside out. Oh, I already had quite a long tail at the beginning. I could have used that one. I'm going to take a safety pin. I'll come up close so you can see. So with my strap, I've left myself an extra long tail at the serger. I'm going to use that tail, if I can get my needle in it, there we go, and pick up some bits of it. So now that is quite well secured onto my safety pin. Close the safety pin and use this to thread inside. And push it all the way through to the other end.
Now we can use that bit of cotton to help turn our strap the right way round. It's a bit of a fiddle getting it started, but once it's going, it pulls through very nicely.
Here's the really satisfying bit. We've started to get the material out the other end. And we just pull it all the way through. There we go. Now I have a strap to go in my tote bag. So now I'm going to iron these. I'm going to iron them so that I have that seam in the centre of one side and nothing on the other side. So it's all nice and smooth here, and this is going to be the inside of our strap. So when you carry it and hold it, that'll be our inside seam. Now we have the two handles for our tote bag, all nice and flat and smooth and ready to use. Not quite ready to use. Before I use them, I want to make sure that my ends are really straightened off. So that's probably my roughest looking one. I'm going to trim it along the end. The same with this one. I'm then going to match the two together, lined up perfectly. Follow down to the other end. And then here where it's all rough and tatty still, I'm going to cut along so both of them are super straight and exactly the same length. From end to end, they are exactly the same length. It's very important so our finished bag will hold properly. What are you doing? I think I need to change the camera angle a little bit. I wanted you to see as much table rather than me. So that's our handles. I'll put them to one side for a minute. Now we've got our handles made, back to making the main body of the bag. So when I fold my fabrics in half, I'm finding that one way is wider than the other. This is my narrow edge, this is my wider edge. Now I'd like my bag to be tall and narrow, so that's the way I'm going to have to use my fabrics. I've got a fold here, which possibly I could leave. You can just stitch along here and there, put your handles in the top, that would make your bag. But the way I'm used to constructing this kind of bag, and I do it quite often, I make little bags for the children at Easter, and I've recently made a couple of tote bags as gift bags for friends. So I'm actually going to cut this halfway fold. I'm going to slide me off the end of the table. Come there. Now I have 4 pieces of fabric. 2 pieces for what I'm going to call the outside of the bag, and 2 pieces that are going to be the lining. There's my 2 outsides, and 2 linings. I'm going to put my outside of the bag together along that edge I've just cut actually. I'm going to join it together along what will be the bottom of my bag. I'm going to run a line of serging stitches along here, and I'm going to do the same with the inside of the bag. I'm going to put both of these through the serger now, with the inside of the bag right side to right side.
You can do this on a standard sewing machine, but as well as your line of straight securing stitches, I would run a line of zigzag stitch just to tidy up that raw edge and stop it from fraying. Now doing exactly the same with what will be the outside of my bag, right sides to right sides, and stitch along the bottom.
So next I'm ready to put the handles into our bag. But before I do that, I want to square up this top edge and make it really straight. Here's the bit I've just stitched on the serger. I'm going to measure up the side from our end to here. In my case, I'm 18 inches. I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm going from the end of the bag, 18 inches. I'm going to join up those 2 marks, 18, 18.
For this pale fabric, I'm marking with just a standard lead pencil.
I'm going to do the same with my inside bag piece. And cut along that nice squared off straight line we've created.
Cutting through both layers of fabric that make up the inside of my bag.
The next stage is going to be to put our handles in. But before I do that, I need to find the centre point of our bag. So when I line up the handles ready for stitching, I can have them evenly spaced on each side of the centre line. By folding our already stitched seam together, give everything a shake, and we should get a natural hang in the material. So that's our centre point there. Now opening them up, our inside and our outside, I'm going to place them right sides to right sides and match up that centre point on each one. So I've taken our 2 sections of bag, the inside and the outside, and I've placed them right side to right side, matching up our top straight edge with a centre point. So I'm going to open up the bag and in goes a handle. Now I'm choosing to put my handles in with the top smooth side. Remember, we had a smooth finish side and a side where that closing seam is visible. So I'm having my smooth side facing upwards towards what is going to be my outside fabric. So leaving about 1 inch of the strap sticking up, enclose that into the bag and put in a pin. Just going to straighten that out a little. We're slightly squiffy. There we go, nice and straight. Seal it in and stick in a pin. Pin that in place. Just going to open this out a minute. There we go. So opening it out inside the bag, we've got our handle. I'm going to bring that round nice and smoothly, so we're not getting any twists going on in here. I'm following this line, so we've got a nice flat smooth handle. I'm going to, put me that way, I'm going to scoop this up So that smooth line is following here, and stick it out the top. I'll put my blue fabric back. There we go. So we can't just stick this strap anywhere we want. I need to line it up with this one by first measuring from our centre line point to the edge of this strap, which in my case is 6 centimetres. So I'm going to go from our centre line to 6 centimetres, or I'm pretty close there. Put that strap in at 6 centimetres. And again, leave a little bit sticking out. I need a pin. Pin that securely in place. I'm actually going to put, which way am I stitching? I'm stitching that way. I've got my pins in the wrong way round, but wrong way or not, I'm going to add a second pin here, lower down. So when I put it through the sewing machine and I take this pin out because I'm sewing it, sewing over the strap, I'll still have another pin holding this strap in place. I've got my pins facing the wrong way, so I'm going to turn this one round as well, but before I turn it, I'll add that second pin. So each strap's got 2 pins in it, and I've got them facing the right direction. As I start stitching along this top edge and over the strap, I'll need to take this pin out. When I take this one out, I'll still have a pin here holding everything in position. So I've got our strap encased between our 2 bits of fabric. Here she is. I'm poking out at both ends. This little bit is quite important. You need to leave about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. Now I'm going to spin it round. And we're going to do the same at the other end. The first thing I want to do is match up our centre point that we marked with a pencil earlier. Put a pin in there. And then our strap. Open it up. Put our strap in with about 1 inch sticking out. And close it over. Now this is not its definite final position. So I'm just going to pop a pin in that way for a second. And then this side, just as before, smooth side, facing the top of our bag. Here I'm going to have to tuck my hands inside because the other end is all pinned together, so I can't flip it open anymore. So keeping this nice and straight, I'm going to bring the handle round this centre pin and pop it out here. I'm just going to stick a pin in that for a second because roughly there. So these 2 straps are just roughly in position at the moment. This is not their final point. I'm going to spin us all back around. And here's the one we did a minute ago that's all measured and set up perfectly. I'm going to bring back the one we have roughly pinned and lay it on top. So we're matching up the centre dot with the centre dot. And now we can readjust this handle so it lies in just the right spot. I'm matching up the end tabs as well. If I leave this longer, our finished handles are going to be different lengths. So I want this to match up to the same length there. And pin. And again, a second pin inside on the strap. So now we've got that strap matched up with the strap underneath. So both sides of the bag will be the same. And I'm going to do the same over here. Take this holding pin out and line up this strap so it's in exactly the same position as the one underneath. Pin it in place. Give it a second pin slightly further down the strap. So now we have both sides pinned up in exactly the same position with the same amount of little bit of strap sticking out at the top. After all that very precise lining up and pinning, we've got our outside of bag and inside of bag pinned together with our bag handles straps sandwiched inside. We're ready to stitch this up. Now I'm not going to stitch this on the serger, I'm going to stitch it on my sewing machine. Now you could serge along this edge, but you would cut off these little tabs of handles sticking out, and they're quite important to give you a much stronger finished bag. Now here's where I'm going to take out that first pin, which is why I put a second pin in place, so nothing moves.
Then we'll do exactly the same on the other end of your bag, stitching across those fitted in straps.
Gosh, it's so bright and sunny, I've had to draw the curtains and change my camera angle. But now we've stitched our ends together with our handles trapped inside, our bag is starting to look very bag-like. There we go. Our bag. Now you could at this point stitch up the side seams and you're ready to go, but I'm not going to do that. First of all, I'm going to make these handles extra strong and secure, which is why I left that extra little tab of fabric sticking out. And then I'll stitch up the side seams, but I'm going to stitch up the side seams with the bag still inside out, so that we'll end up with a bag that is fully reversible with no visible flappy seam edges. So I'll show you how we're going to do that. Sadly, you can't see it on the camera, and I can't actually see it. I can feel where that extra tab of handle is in the bag. So with a straight stitch and my needle now set to the centre of my foot, I'm going to stitch an extra strong little square.
Start by stitching across the top of the strap. Then leaving your needle in the fabric, lift the foot and turn your work. And we'll now stitch down the strap, that little tab we left sticking out. You can feel it with your fingers, even if it can't be seen. Again, leaving our needle in the work, lift the foot and turn us round and stitch along the bottom of our little flap of strap. Once more, needle in the work and turn us round and stitch back up the other side to where we started. Now we're not quite finished. I'm going to leave the needle in the work again and spin it round, so we're going across that square we've made from corner to corner. Turn our work and stitch along the bottom again where we stitched before, and go from this second corner to corner, taking us back up to the top. and one last little row back across the top of the strap, and we're done. Needle out, foot up, and cutters free.
There we have another nice little square with a cross in it, making the handle nice and strong. Now in theory, you could at this point put our bag right side to right side, stitch along that side seam, fold it back out, and you've got a bag ready to go. But I'm not going to do that. I want this bag to be fully reversible, and whichever way round you choose to use it, it'll still be all neatly finished on its outside seams. So I'm going to flip it inside out again and join it up with my outside of bag meeting up with outside of bag, right sides to right sides, matching up that bottom seam, pin it together. So all the way along that edge, right side to right side on what will be the outside of my bag. But it's going to be fully reversible, so whoever's using the bag can decide which side they want to have as the outside of the bag. So that's that bit, and then I'm going to carry on with what will be the inside of the bag. Right sides to right sides, and pin that together as well. So now this whole side seam can be stitched together. So I'm also at this point going to pin up the other side of the bag in exactly the same way. Now I'm going to stitch it on my serger because I have a serger and I love it, so I'm going to use it.
You can, of course, use a standard sewing machine. I would run one line of straight stitches followed by a line of zigzag right next to it. As this is going to be a shopping bag, that extra line of zigzag will make it nice and strong.
Having just stitched from one end all the way to the other end on this side of our bag, I do not want to do that on the other side. Although we've pinned it up the same, I need to leave a space on this side so I can turn the bag the right way out. At the moment, we're inside out. Now, as I have decided that the blue is going to be the right side of my finished bag and the creamy beigey colour is going to be the inside, the creamy beigey colour is the one I'm going to leave a gap in order to turn the bag the right way round. I'm losing a pin, let's put that back in, there we go. So I'm going to stitch about 4 or 5 inches at the bottom, from the bottom up about 4 or 5 inches. Then I'm going to leave a space of, again, about 4 inches. Then stitch all the way to the end. So I'll have a little hole, I can flip my bag the right way round.
Starting part way up the side seam, I'm going to stitch all the way to the end. Then stitching from the top corner all the way down the side and stopping at the point where I want that open space to be.
Now here is where I started to run to the end. So I want to leave a space. So about here is where I need to run off the serger. Right, so now here goes the magic. Finally, tiny bit of hand sewing to close up this hole and we're done. Right, so just pushing everything into that tiny hole I've left. It would have been better if I'd left myself a little bit more space.
My gap is only 2 inches, not 4.
But I didn't. Well, it's coming through quite nicely. Stuff the rest of it in. These bright fabrics on these sunny days. There he is, it's all gone. We're all in. Now to find the wrinkly bits and pull it out. Oh, a handle. Ta-da! Gonna give it a shake. So we've ended up with our bag inside out as far as I'm concerned. But there's the hole we've got left. So I'm just going to fold that in on itself, and I will stitch along that open gap by hand. But once it's all stitched in by hand, our bag is ready to use. Oh, they're pretty. Ta-da! Shopping bag. Yay! There we have our pretty little tote bag all finished. So yes, you certainly can use an unused pillowcase to make a very nice tote bag. I only used the fabric from the pillowcase, and I've got a fully reversible tote bag. Give this a shake a second. Where's its edges? There we go. So you could choose to use it whichever way round you want. Because it's got a double layer of fabric, it's nice and thick and nice and strong, and we added those extra little stitches around the handles to make them good and strong as well. So whether you're using it to go to the supermarket or carry a towel to the beach, it's a very useful tote bag. I'm going to use it to put my friend's birthday gift in, rather than some wrapping paper that's going to go straight in the bin. This in and of itself can be an extra gift and present. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. So I found myself a little bit of pink ribbon that I'm going to tie around this. I've put my friend's gift in the bag. I'm just going to scrunch it up and tie it closed with a ribbon. Oh, very pretty. A lovely gift bag. I'm happy with that. Bye for now, and thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed today's video, click that like button to let me know. Click subscribe and YouTube will make sure you see my next video. And remember, whatever you're doing, have fun doing it.